Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. Be sure to leave your comments. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. College football watch list season, peeps. I'm not super big on watch lists because everybody is on watch lists. What I do like about watch lists is that it does give us an opportunity to talk about the players that are on the watch list and potentially what their impact this season could be. So today we saw a few more guys added to watch lists. Ed Ingram named to the Outland Trophy watch list. And then both Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks have been named to the Nagurski Trophy watch list, which is given to the best defensive player in all of college football. You might recall that Patrick Peterson won the Nagurski in 2010 and Tyrann Mathieu won it in 2011. I'm sorry, they won the Bednarik. So, still, you've got these two defensive backs that are up for the National Defensive Player of the Year, on the watch list for the National Defensive Player of the Year award. I don't know if either of them wins it. I think Stingley's got a better shot than Ricks just because he's a little more of a proven commodity. But I did think of it like this. And listen, I don't mean any disrespect, but there's 90 players on the Bednarik watch list. 90. Like, similarly, I'd like to announce that I've been named to the National Sports Broadcaster of the Year watch list. I'm humbled by the honor. You know what I mean. Anyway. But I was thinking about this earlier, that LSU with Stingley and Ricks may very well have the best cornerback duo that they've ever had. And so I kind of went back and was charting who the two boundary corners were that LSU's had in a given season. And I'd probably go back, if you include Tyrann Mathieu, who wasn't obviously a boundary corner, but that's secondary in 2011, which had Mo Claiborne and Tyrann Mathieu and Thorold Simon and Eric Reed and Brandon Taylor. I think that was the best secondary I've ever seen at LSU in 2011. But if we're just talking about the two guys on the boundary, here was the short list that I came up with. I think 2019 was spectacular. You had Christian Fulton, who was every bit a superstar, and freshman Derek Stingley, who lived up to the billing in a freshman year, unlike any freshman I think we've ever seen, even more than Patrick Peterson's freshman year in 2008. So Fulton and Stingley in 2019 would be on that short list. 2016, you had senior Tre'Davious White, come back for a senior year, and Dante Jackson was opposite him. And Jackson's gone on to be a very good NFL cornerback, and obviously was good that year opposite Trey White, who was an All-American. 2010, you had Peterson and Mo Claiborne, who were both sensational, both first-round draft picks, both top 10 draft picks, which is incredible when you think about it. And that may be the duo that takes home this distinction because they both were top 10 draft picks. And then I think the only other one in the mix would be 2003, where you had Corey Webster and Travis Daniels. But I would still say that this year, Stingley as a junior, who's going to be a top 10 pick and the first cornerback taken in the draft, and Ricks as a sophomore, who was a freshman All-American a year ago, I think those two, this may end up being the one that we look back on and say, that was the best corner tandem ever. Now, they're going to be tested. And I was as I was kind of prepping this earlier today, which struck me, is I was thinking, okay, what are the games where we're really going to see if they're passing the test, right? Like if they're improving from a year ago. Not just these corners, but the defense as a whole. And I thought about week 1 against UCLA, because there's going to be a lot to prove in week 1. UCLA plays week 0 against Hawaii, so they will have a game under their belt. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is UCLA's quarterback. We haven't talked a ton about that game yet, but that opened up as a 2-point spread. It's up to about 4.5 now, but it's still closer, I think, than many LSU fans would assume. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson is a 3-year starter. He's going into his 4th year as the starter at quarterback at UCLA. And that's a team that, while their record last year wasn't very good, there were 3 games you look back and you go, how in the world did you lose those games? And it was USC, Oregon, and Stanford. So I'm curious about UCLA and what challenge they may present to LSU. So we'll find out a lot week 1. Also, when they go to Mississippi State, of course, it's Mike Leach's air raid offense. Last year, KJ Costello threw for 623 yards against LSU. I think the Ole Miss game is another where Matt Corral last year threw for 251 and 3 touchdowns. Ole Miss scored 48 points in a loss. Now, Corral did throw 5 interceptions in that game. That's going to be massive to see if he can fix that issue from a year ago. And then, of course, the Bama game, which is on the road. And last year, we know how that all went, a 55-17 whitewashing. And, of course, you've got John Mechie on the outside. Regardless of who plays quarterback, you're going to have really, really good receivers out there on the boundary for Bama. But what struck me about those 4, UCLA, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Bama, they're all on the road. And, yeah, that's certainly a giant challenge, but it also presents a major opportunity for these guys coming off a year where LSU's secondary did not anyway resemble what they have earned the moniker of DBU, to do it in tough environments all on the road, starting with week 1 against UCLA and also having the games at Mississippi State, at Ole Miss, at Bama, teams that scorched this secondary a year ago, and to go into their building and flip the script, to no pun intended with the Ed Ogeron book title. But it's an amazing opportunity for those guys to maybe cement themselves among the best, if not atop the list of the best cornerback duos that LSU's ever had. Think about what's on the line for these 2 guys. Both who could be, Stingley will be a top 10 pick this year, and Ricks could be in that same boat a year from now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.